Well, Gavin, thanks for inviting us into your studio, and tell us a little bit about this work, this tribute to Gordon Banks that you've put together.
Yeah, well, it was basically when I first heard the news, 10 o'clock that morning. My son had phoned me, texted me just to say that Gordon had passed, and obviously everything just stopped. I was on my way to the studio at the time, and I just sat and watched the TV, listening to all the tributes coming in, and obviously I was quite emotionally affected by what had gone on. And a few minutes later, my wife also contacted me and said what had happened, and she actually suggested, well, why don't you do something to commemorate Gordon's passing? And I did think for a few moments that that's something I really wanted to do. I wanted to mark the actual occasion of the importance of Gordon, really, to me as a person, but also maybe also to the community as well. And as a Stoke fan, I've been following Stoke since the late 70s, and I heard all these great stories from my dad, got all the programmes from the early 70s, got the League Cup thing, and so the bug was there, and my son was also invested a little bit of time into it because I told all these stories that were passed on to me. So, and he became a goalkeeper because of Gordon, really, in Lads and Dads. And I just thought, well, it was important to do something that would mark something meaningful to me, my family, and also as a Stoke fan, really. And so I just sat down collecting lots of pictures and looking for the right pictures to really say something about Gordon, what he represented. So I thought, well, I'll go for past and reasonably present. So in the picture, I mean, I found obviously the iconic picture of him flying in the air, trying to save an imminent goal, and then also in his later life where he was looking more dignified, and the work that he did outside of football as well, within the community. And I thought, what better way of doing that with a small sketch? And it was only a small sketch because I wanted to get something done quite quickly, and that's the net result of everything I did.
So just talk us through the process then. It was a case of finding the right imagery and then you setting down to work, and it's a pencil drawing.
It is, yeah. I mean, I must have got about 25 to 30 pictures that I thought were probably doable for the picture. I'd already worked out how big I wanted to do it, but I just needed something that would work together in terms of a close-up portrait of Gordon, and also something from the past where he was in his element, what he was renowned for. And of course, it's the link to Stoke, really. I mean, he's a boyhood hero, and I only saw him play once, which was for Dennis Smith in his testimonial. That was the only real time that I actually saw him play. But from those pictures, I composed something from those photographs and then started lining out exactly what I wanted to do. And from then, once I was satisfied with the composition of it, I then went ahead and started to render it in, shade it all in, and try and get the right tones in there in order to try and, I don't know, to get what I wanted really from it. And the process was, I always like to take photographs along the way, and I actually posted a few of these because obviously there was a lot of people who were paying tribute to Gordon, and I thought, well, this is my tribute by placing it on Facebook and letting people see the progress that I was making. And I got a massive response from it. So it was just like, well, then Radio Stoke got hold of it, and from then on, I've had a lot of interest in the picture at the moment.
So how long did it take you then from start to finish?
From start to finish, I was doing 4 or 5 hour sessions, so it took me around about five days working on 4 or 5 hour sessions. So between 18 to 20 odd hours really to complete, until I was really happy and satisfied with the outcome. The hardest bit was, it's not just Gordon. There's another 500 faces in the background, which was probably the bigger challenge really, is trying to actually get that accurate and looking as though he was in a proper environment. So that possibly was the most challenging thing, getting all the other faces in. So.
Certainly a fitting tribute, and I know you've been in touch with Gordon's family because you hope to present them with a copy of this, don't you?
Yeah, well, I mean that was the intention. Was I my dream was to actually make sure that it got to the family, really. It just felt right. It was the right thing to do. I mean, because he'd given so much back, really. I mean, in terms of entertainment and his sportsmanship, but also it was more than that. And I just thought a small gesture like this, in the scheme of things, I think it was the right thing to do. And like I say, I mean, he's meant a lot to me and my family, in terms of his sportsmanship and also about the adversity he overcame when his career ended at 35, I think it was, and he'd already signed a 6-year contract for Stoke, and it was just over just like that, which is a crying shame, really. And me try to get back in football, and I love the story of how he overcame that. I mean, a lot of people might have gone under, but he didn't. He bounced back and reshaped his life, which, I mean, is highly commendable, really. I mean, that's something I admire in Gordon, and he was such a gent as well. He was so down to earth.
Tell us a little bit about your backstory. Clearly a passionate Stoke City fan, now making your living out of art. How did you end up here?
Well, I was a teacher for 20 years at Biddulph High School. I worked up there as a head of department in design and technology and fine art, and I was teaching children up there for 13 to 18-year-olds for 20 years for my sins. And things just developed in such a way that I thought, well, I'm not getting any younger, and I've always wanted to try doing something within fine art and portraiture and things like that. I've always drawn. I've always loved football, but I've also loved art. And Stoke has always been there since I was about 8 or 9, I think it was, and I got my first strip, my football strip, Stoke strip. And I always loved drawing the booth and end, all the faces in the crowd when I was a little lad, with all the banners and my favourite players, going back from Garth Crooks and Denny Smith in goals, Sammy Irvine and Viv Busby and all those other ones, Big Bren. I mean, those always lit up my day when I'm just playing football in the garden and just emulating my heroes. And Gordon was another one. When I was in goal, I was Gordon, like any lad would be. So from then, I've always tried to marry up the things that I'm interested in, and football is massive in my life, and I also love drawing, so I think it just marries up quite nicely.
You've immortalised him in this sketch. How can people get hold of one if they want to, if they want that to be on their wall?
They can get hold of me via Facebook, Twitter, on Instagram too. I'm quite happy to sell copies of these. They have just gone on sale since it's gone on an exhibition at the open exhibition in Leek at Stasmorlands. At the moment, I've got about 50 already printed up, and I'm ready to print up some more for those people who are interested in purchasing and commemorate Gordon's passing, and hopefully to hand it on to the original to the family as well in a short space of time, hopefully, so all being well. And
any more plans for any footballing artwork that you've got in the pipeline?
Always. I mean, I've got friends who are not just Stoke fans. I mean, I did a Gerrard picture for a friend recently, and a couple of years ago I did an Eric Cantona one. Never mind. But yeah, I love Stoke, and I mean, I've been looking into possibly doing some of the legends of Stoke City, from Jimmy Greenough and Denny Smith, and obviously I'd like to do a large piece on Gordon as well. So, and I've got friends who are artists who just primarily work in football art as well. So it's something that I really would like to look into more, yeah.